Okay, I'm just going to have to start taking this thing back apart. I was having a look up in under here where it was leaking at the back, like it's leaking above the starter motor, and at the back here up in there, and it just looks like I may not have put enough silicon, what's that stuff called? This stuff here. That's the stuff I used. I may not have put quite enough of that on top of the gasket, unfortunately. And when I get this head off, I'm thinking of like cleaning that all up. I may solder that, and I'll put what's that stuff? JB Weld. That looks like something similar that they'd use in the factory. They have a blob of crap there, there, and there. And obviously, after they've pressure tested it, they've given it to the kid to soda blast it, and he's removed all that, and it should have been left there. So anyway, a bit of complaint about that, I suppose, but I'm going to take the carbies off, this top cover, get the distributor off, water pump, exhaust coming off, radiator, alternator, and just get it back down, get the head off. There's no point in whinging about it. I'm just going to have to get in and do it. It's only unbolt the battery in this rig thing off, start rig off, radiator's out. I'm just going to take the alternator off, then get the carbies off, exhaust coming off after that. But it might seem like a bad thing, but this has happened for a reason. I can tell you that right now. Something's wrong with this engine, and I've got to find out what it is, because there's actually coolant in the oil. I've got a feeling where the cylinder liners go, there's 4 little plastic dowels, and I got a feeling that they're no good. They're just not sealing. They're supposed to stick up at least a millimetre above the surface of the liners, and from memory I don't think they did. Got the carbies off, but I don't think this gasket's real good. It's a pretty cheap sort of a gasket, but I think it's been leaking a bit here. So that can drip along and into there, down here. It looks like it's been leaking through there. It's coming down and dripping into that. It could pool there quite easily. I think we're going to need a better gasket than that. That one, I don't like the look of it. That's the back side of this gasket, and it's fully soaked. It's not much of a gasket, and coolant's been coming down here and dripping. That's the drip on that side for sure. So I'm about to pull I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But it'll dry out. I'll let it dry out. I won't be putting it back on without any silicone. I put that on dry, and that's no good. I'll put that stuff on it when I put it back on. Pull the exhaust off next, then the exhaust manifold, and then I'll take this cam cover off. I'll take the water pump, the dizzy, the cam cover, and then we get at the head. I suppose the head will be coming off pretty soon. I'll probably get them brackets off. No point leaving them there. I don't know how, but there's coolant in around that bottom #1 spark plug in the well there. That is weird. I've got no idea how that would get there. That's why I wouldn't start. I got the fuel pump off. I'm about to take the dizzy off. Got the leads off. But how coolant gets in there, I can't see it. I just can't see any way that can get in there. This is a big mystery, but yeah, this was meant to happen. There's some way it's getting in there. I hope there's nothing wrong with this head. That'd be great. The only thing I can see, there's another one of them weird Welsh plugs up in there. I'm going to have to test all that, make sure there's nothing coming out of it. I'll go and look at the original head and see if it's got any of that goop on it. Because that's the only place I can see it could come to there. Like it's coming from something. Like these 3 are dry. That one was swimming. Well, that's bloody weird. Anyway, I'll just have to keep going. This is definitely happened for a reason. Something's not right. This head's not what I was thinking. I've got the cam cover off. It's raining here at the moment. We're getting good oil pressure, that's for sure. So we don't have to worry about that. But this all needs to get all the oil out of here. The only place the coolant can get into there, it's through that. That's another one of those Welsh plugs. That's got to be leaking. It has to be. There's no other place it can come from. There's nothing up here. That was full of coolant. That's why it wouldn't start. That's what I reckon anyway. Plus it was a bit flooded. Right, I was looking at my video from yesterday about this gasket, right, and it was saturated. Coolant's dripped down in there and gone into these intake ports. So I was right, there was coolant in the fuel. That's going to make it not start, okay? And there was also coolant around this plug. But I've had a look at these Welsh plugs on the old head, and I had a real close look at this stuff. I thought it was like an epoxy. It's not. It's actually solder or some type of lead. So that's what will be happening with that. I'll pretty much just going to lead wipe over those. That and these three at the back. That thing there will drop straight off. So whatever. What am I going to do? I'm not sending it back to Melbourne. It's just too much hassle. And yeah, it's a bit of an expense. Companies glue that on there and it says warranty, guarantee, void if removed. So if this head gets really hot, that drops off, they won't warrant it. But that isn't like that from the factory. That's been put in like that, but they've leaded or soldered over it. It's not epoxy, not on that head up there anyway. And I'm just going to fix it myself. Intake gasket, I won't be putting it on dry. I've got a new one coming, but I'm going to, which I'll probably use, but I'm going to put that Permatex sealer on it, so it will sort of waterproof it. Anyway, lifting the head off. First I'm going to take the camshafts off and stick them over there, and then the head's coming off. Intake gasket, I won't be putting it on dry. I've got a new one coming, but I'm going to, which I'll probably use, but I'm going to put that Permatex sealer on it, so it will sort of waterproof it. Anyway, lifting the head off. First I'm going to take the camshafts off and stick them over there, and then the head's coming off. Yeah, just got to take them off really, because when you put it back together, you put the head on, then the cams. I'm going to take this off next. That's the shaft for the water pump. I'm not going to pull the head off if that's sitting in there. I'm reusing these. There's nothing wrong with them. They're still new. So I just put everything in there. Everything's going in here. These nuts here will be going in there. And then that's all that head stuff goes in that. Right, I'm ready to lift this head off. The way these cars are made, there's an engine mount there. There's an engine mount here. It's mounted to the head. So I've got it jacked up here, the motor. So I'm just going to try and lift this head off now. Yeah, I'm not going to put it back together this way, but me by myself, I'm just trying to make it lighter so I can lift it out. I'm still not going to be able to lift it out by myself. The head's coming off. Next will be the gearbox, and then I'm going to have to jack it up at the back as well. And then I'll get my son down here and we'll lift it off and take it over to the table over there, and I'll get the little stand I made for it, and then you fix them. Taking these headers off. That's burning good, that's burning good. In there's not bad, like it's dry. That's wet. I'm not sure if that's coming from the head or it's blowing out that cylinder. What's this? That's something else I have to investigate. Why is that all wet? That's strange. Anyway, we'll have a closer look at that. But there's the head off. I don't see anything wrong with the cylinders. Look nice. I don't know why it's blowing oil out this hole here, number one, out the exhaust. Unless it's, I don't know. This looks pretty dry here, the head gasket. The head gasket actually looks nice on this side. It mightn't be so good on the underside, but anyway, we'll just keep going. We just got to keep going with it. There's no other way. Here's the head here. Looks good. I'll just probably drain the rest of the oil out of it. This head gasket off. that's the number one cylinder. Like that was sitting like that. That's where it was leaking. It mightn't be the base gasket that's leaking on the liner. It looks like it was coming out of here, out of the bottom of the head gasket. I might not have to take them out, because I'm pretty sure the other thing was leaking on the intake gaskets. I may not have to take them pistons out. That would be very handy. Very handy indeed. Now, let's see. I should have just tried to leave that. Well, that's interesting anyway. Something else I wanted to point out. See that spark plug there, and that valve hasn't been burnt. They're burnt. That's the one that was spewing the oil out of the cylinder. And I can't see anything wrong with that. It mustn't have been, I don't know, it might have had spark there. And that's just blowing, that's fuel. It's blowing fuel out the exhaust, not oil. That's what I'm thinking. So that'll fix that. I've just got to make sure it's firing that hole. But I'm starting to think that the pistons don't have to come out. That would be a pretty big thing for me. Jesus, looks like, what are they? Oh no, they're oil things. I've got to sort out those Welsh plugs. That's the thing I've got to fix on that. And yeah, if I don't have to take them out, that changes a lot. So I can just leave it like that. This is my diagnosis with this engine. It wasn't leaking at the base gasket anywhere. This side here was dripping down on that intake gasket. You can see how soggy it is. So I've got to put that on with that ad stuff, that Permatex stuff. Make sure I put all these gaskets on with that goop. As far as this side here, with having this one spark plug not burn, it's just got a dead hole. That could be anything. I'll just have to check it. That's got nothing to do with the valves or pistons or anything. That's just electrical. So I'll just chase that. And the oil in the exhaust body, that's fuel. Yeah, that's just unburnt fuel, I reckon. With it, man, might mix a little bit of oil with it, but it's still a new sort of an engine. That's what I'm thinking. Well, that's the other side, actually. Anyway, whatever it is, when it's where the exhaust port is, that's just a bit of oil dripped in there. It has to be fuel. It can't be oil. Well, where can the oil come from? It's got new pistons, new rings, everything's clean. Just another trick I did when I put this engine together, I marked the chain. So now I know that's about that high on the pulley, and I can tell that that is top dead centre on the compression stroke. I don't have to pull that off, pull the starter wheel and all that crap off just to check the marking on the pulley down the bottom. It's got a little dot on it, and I also painted some paint on that. But I know that's top dead centre, ready to fire. So realistically, I've just got to stop this coolant coming out of here on the underside of the head gasket. How I'm going to do that at this stage, I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure it out. Why this hole wasn't firing, it's because of the coolant around the spark plug. If you get moisture on the ceramic there, it won't work. That's caused that to not fire. I'll guarantee it. That is the reason why this hole is dead, because that was full of, this one, that was full of coolant. So basically I've got to lead wipe or solder these things so they're sealed like the factory does it. And I'm going to blow me warranty, but who cares? I'm not sending it back to Melbourne. They should have done that. It shouldn't be up to me to do that. Why should I do their job? I paid them for that, but it's going to cost me a couple of $100, and who knows what could happen to it if I send it to Melbourne. Now, overall, it's pretty good news, really. To me, that's good news. What I'm actually thinking of doing, of stopping this, is putting that Permatex stuff on the bottom side of this gasket. I might have put it on the top side of it as well, not that one, the new one. And I'll put some extra around, just around these bits here. I might as well do all of them. And then just put that gasket on, drop the head on. What do you guys, I'll make a video, what do you guys that have built these engines think about that idea? That's, you know, I don't have to take them off. That's not leaking at the base. As simple as that. It's not, I can tell. And it's just another thing, like, so what I've got to do is do the head guy's job, fix that properly so it's pressurised. And the water pump, one of the guys, Michael, did message and say that he may have a water pump housing. I really only need the front section of it. If you're keen to do a deal on that, mate, I'm keen to grab it. I'll leave my email. I did leave it in below your message last time if you want to check that, and just give me a message and see what we can work out. I reckon I've still got to wait for the new gasket, but we'll get this motor sorted out. I reckon that will fix it. Anyway, like I said, I'll whack a little video and I'll see what you guys say. One other thing, this head gasket, it doesn't look like it doesn't look any different to me even when I put it on. I honestly can't see any reason why I can't reuse that. I just can't see any reason for it. It goes like that, that's the bottom. What I'm thinking of doing is painting this stuff here on the underside of this gasket, and put a bit extra around here, down in there. Did anyone ever reuse one of these things? Like, it's only been used for like 5 minutes. Surely you can reuse that. New one coming. I've got a new thicker base gasket. I've got a lot of gaskets coming. All I've got to do is just pull it apart, put it back together, and see if it's sealed. If it's sealed, it's sealed. I'll just keep those parts for a spare. Another thing I forgot to mention before too, like when I put this together, we never got the crank rebuilt, and it sat in that one position for 50 years. So it had a bit of a notchy bit. Like when I used to spin this, I could feel it sort of tight, then loose, tight, loose. I don't do that anymore. That's what I was hoping would happen once it ran for a bit. I was hoping that would free up and you get some fresh oil in there. That's what's happened. That spins, that notchy bit's gone. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. As usual, thanks for watching the video.